my name's Andy Kerr, and I'm a local artist in Chattanooga. I grew up always thinking I wanted to be a scientist. Like, since I was a little kid, I would always write it down on papers in school, and when I came to UTC, I knew for certain that's what I wanted to study. And I did it very well. I continued to study science. I went on to get a master's in plant and soil science, and I felt very certain that it was what I wanted to do with my life. And then I went on to start a PhD because that was just the next logical step, and that was in genetics and genomics at the University of North Carolina, or North Carolina State University. And when I finally got into that position, I realized I didn't like what I was doing anymore. I loved the process of learning science and communicating it, but not actually doing science. And that realization drew me back to a hobby I'd always held on to, but didn't envision for my career, which was using art to communicate science. So that's how I initially made the jump, was illustrating science to communicate the research that I had seen through the last 10 years of my life. And it was only in realizing the power of using visuals and art to communicate science that I started to like science again. But I realized science was no longer the career that I wanted. When I first left grad school, my intention was to be a science illustrator, was to fully create art for science. I found that rewarding, but also very challenging because it's not a job that really exists. There are a few people who do it very well, but most people don't do it for a living. They do it on the side of the other things that they do. And I saw a job posting at the Center for Creative Arts here in Chattanooga for a science teacher, an 8th grade science teacher. I managed to get the job with very little experience, but I think that they saw that someone like me was perfect for a school that specializes in art, but I would be teaching science. More than just how I taught the students, they taught me a lot about taking my art seriously, because when I went into this job, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with art. And the kids get into that school to do art, to take their art seriously. And it was a huge priority for them. And once they found out that I also did art, it was a way we could relate. And they helped me learn to take what I was doing more seriously and not just think of it as a hobby. In the summer after my second year of teaching, in July, I created a website. I was like, I'm gonna try to sell prints of the work that I've done. I had the time, the summer to do it. And then a few months later, September, I did my first market. That market definitely was the trigger of being like, I think I can do this. But the crazy thing to me is that was September, my first market. I had to tell my work I was leaving in December. So I only had 3-4 months to make that decision. I started putting my own spin on the designs, taking nature and then twisting it a little bit to tell a different story. And a comic style was the style I gravitated towards, mainly because it's a very perfect medium for telling stories in a visual sense. This isn't my most amazing design ever, but it holds a special place in my heart because this was the first one I did in this particular style, which almost everything I do now is in this style. And I printed it because I loved it. I didn't think other people would. And I brought 10 of them to market with me, and I sold out. And it was kind of the sign oh, maybe that'll work. So I started working in the style that I truly loved, but I thought nobody would care about. And suddenly they did. And now it lays the foundation for my whole business. So there's a Venus flytrap in my company logo because of this original design. To set the scene, I'll be at a market, and I have these big displays, and all my art's up on the displays. So you can walk up and see the style, and then people start reading. And sometimes I'll have someone ask me, well, I see that your style's consistent, but what's your message? What are you trying to get across? And they'll pick up one print and another, and they have very different messages. And I think that's kind of the point, and something that I never want to give up, is that you can use art and this kind of illustration to say many things about the world and about people, and some of it can be fun and joyful and others can be serious. Yeah. You can stay in a genre and still say very different things.